Hello guys, so we're coming to the end of 2017 and I waited a little bit extra time for myself to do the best of 2017 movies because I wanted to see Star Wars The Last Jedi just to see if I was going to add that into my top 10. I don't plan on seeing any other movies that will probably be in my top of 2017 movies, so it's safe to say that I'm going to do my top 2017 movies just now, and it's going to be a top 10. There are movies that a lot of people have added into their top 10 that I simply haven't seen. For example, I haven't seen Wonder starring Owen Wilson, and that might have been in my top 10, I don't know, but I'm not going to add that in because I've not seen it. Other movies that I haven't seen, I would probably say I haven't seen Blade Runner 2049. It never interested me. I've never seen the first movie either. And I heard that that's probably the best or one of the best movies of 2017. So if you're wondering why that's not in it, it's because I simply haven't seen it. And if I had seen it, it might have been in my top 10, I don't know. So like I said, there are movies that are probably in everybody's top 10s, but it's not because I hate them, it may be simply because I haven't seen them. So in at number 10 is John Wick 2, or John Wick Chapter 2. I loved the first one. The first one was fantastic. It was a breath of fresh air for Keanu Reeves, because his last big massive movie was the Matrix trilogy, and he wasn't in anything fantastic since the Matrix. Part 2 and 3 of the Matrix weren't that great. But yeah, John Wick brought Keanu Reeves back into the action scene, and John Wick was a fantastic movie. That was probably one of my top 10 movies of 2014. And John Wick 2 is not as good as John Wick, but it still kept the adrenaline going for the whole movie for me, from start to finish. It was quite a long movie if I remember, but I remember when it finished I was like, oh, it's finished. I just had so much fun with this movie, all out action, and the dedication that Keanu Reeves put into the role of John Wick as well has got to be looked at, because it was fantastic as well. John Wick 2, that's my number 10. There have been a number of comic book movies out recently, and 2017 is no exception. So the first comic book movie that makes it onto my list at number 9 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Again, similar to John Wick, which came out in 2014 as well, Guardians of the Galaxy was a phenomenon for me. I never knew about the Guardians before. I used to collect the Marvel Masterpiece cards and a few comics when I was a kid, but I'd never actually heard of the Guardians until I've seen the trailer and things of the 2014 movie. And a lot of people must have thought the same as well, they don't know who they are. And that was why I loved it so much, because it was a surprise. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, they tried to do the same as what they did in 2014. They added in jokes, but this time round the jokes were a little bit more forced. And it just didn't feel like it was that much more special than the first one. The storyline on paper sounds better when we see that Peter Quill finally finds his dad, and obviously Yondu, what happens at the end with him. It just wasn't as good as the first one, but as you can see, it's in my top 10, so it has to be a special movie. So yeah, I really love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It was a great addition to what we're going to find out may be a trilogy for this Guardians series. And I hope that Volume 3 is a lot better than Volume 2, but I really love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And then at number 8 is the movie that I've seen most recently, and that is Star Wars The Last Jedi. So I'm glad that I waited until I seen Star Wars The Last Jedi until I added my top 10 of 2017, because it did make it in at number 8. And just like the previous number 10 and number 9, I love John Wick and I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. Their sequels were good, but not as good as the original. I see The Force Awakens as the first in a new series of trilogy for Star Wars, and I loved The Force Awakens. And The Last Jedi again was great, it was really good. But there was a lot of flaws in this movie that made me think that there was room for improvement. I don't know if that's because of Rian Johnson's direction, because Rian Johnson is a really good director, but I just seen that J.J. Abrams' direction in a space movie was a lot better for a Star Wars series. J.J. Abrams is back again for episode 9, that's great. But this one was, parts of it was a letdown, but again I still really liked the movie, I still enjoyed it, and that's the reason it's in my top 10. Now in at number 7 is Get Out. This was a really big surprise for me. I tend to read a lot about hype for movies, and when I watch the movie after I've read about the hype, I'm disappointed. But this is one of those rare times where the hype matches the movie. Get Out was a fantastic movie. You could say it was a horror movie from Blumhouse, and it did have horror elements in it because it was a horrific movie. If you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. But I think that not just the horror element of this movie, the psychological elements of this film were really good. The acting was great, and the story wasn't just about a horror. It had a lot of layers to it, like an onion, and it was just a really great movie overall. Very surprising, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the director does next. Jordan Peele, he's already proven he's a great director, and I'm hoping he stays within that kind of horror genre. And number 6 on my list is Thor Ragnarok. I did mention in my Star Wars review that I'm trying not to rush my reviews because I needed a bit of time to think about it. Thor Ragnarok was something that I did rush because I gave it a good review. I think I gave it a B, I think it was, or a B plus, a B. But having thought about it again and seen it afterwards, I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time round. And maybe it's because I relaxed myself more, because I didn't go into it thinking it's going to be this serious movie that the first Thor 2 movies were. The first 2 Thor movies were. So this one was a genuine surprise for me, to be honest. The trailers did make it look more comedic, but I thought it would still have that serious undertone, and it did have a little bit of a serious undertone, but overall it was a fun movie. They tried to bring it down to the Guardians level, which they did do successfully, and I thought it was a really, really, really good Thor movie. It is the 16th or the 17th Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, so you'd think it would have a little bit of a, I don't know, like a dying edge to it, because not every Marvel movie can be as good as the next one. And this was, not only was this as good as the last 16, 15 movies, it was one of the better Marvel movies ever made. So again, that's why it's in my top 10, because it was a really, really surprisingly great movie. Now next in at number 5 is Logan. I've only seen this movie once, and I still remember most of the movie. It was back in March 2017, so it was an early on movie for me, but it still has that effect on me from March till now. I thought it was a really gritty movie. It really showed Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman's roles and their dedication to the two characters, because although it's a Logan movie, Patrick Stewart is in it a lot, and his performance in this movie was outstanding. If Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart aren't nominated for Academy Awards this year, or for the beginning of 2018, I don't know what it is a comic book movie needs to do to get these sort of awards. Sadly, Heath Ledger got an award, probably because he passed away, I'm not too sure. But Hugh Jackman's performance as Wolverine was a lot better than Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. And Patrick Stewart was even better than Hugh Jackman in this. I'm hoping that Hugh Jackman gets a nomination at least for Best Actor, and I'm hoping that Patrick Stewart gets a nomination for Best Supporting Actor, because the two of them together were just amazing. Forget about the little girl, she was good. All the supporting cast were good around them. The storyline was great, and the finish was a great send-off for Hugh Jackman, but just the performance between Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart was just enough alone to get this into my top 10. What a great movie, and what a great performance by both of them. Now at number 4 is Baby Driver. There's no surprise for me that Baby Driver was going to be in my top 10. As soon as I heard that Edgar Wright had a new movie coming out in 2017, I instantly knew I was going to love this movie. I loved every other Edgar Wright movie in the past, even Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and The World's End, because I know a lot of people are kind of marmite with those movies. You either love those two or you hate them. With Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, I think almost everyone loves those two movies. But for me, Edgar Wright's directing style was great. I just love the quick snap shots that he does, and you know he was going to do that in this. And what makes this movie so much more special than the last few movies he directed, he did do the quick directing shots, the quick, but at the same time he had a beat. The actors had a beat, the movements and everything went with the songs that Baby was using at that time. Not only is it hard to direct movies with short cuts, it's very, very hard to direct a movie in that kind of music style, and the bass and the tone and all the beats matched their movements, their footsteps, everything about the way this movie was directed was perfection. Now the movie's story isn't original, the acting's not the best, but I think what makes this movie, gets this movie into the top 10 for me, is the directing alone. The directing is just phenomenal. It's one of the best directed movies that I've seen in a long time. Edgar Wright is one of the best directors that I've seen in recent times, and he's proven time and time again. Now at number 3, there's no surprise that Christopher Nolan makes it, and that is Dunkirk. Dunkirk is an awesome movie. It's something that you have to see in the cinema. I will watch it on 4K in the house, and I'll probably love it, but maybe not as much as I did in the cinema, because the score that he uses for all his films adds to the tension in his films as well, because every scene that's building up the tension has that score. It has that wide angle cinematography view. It's just, I personally think that Christopher Nolan might be a secret photographer. I don't know, because every scene that he directs, it's just a photographer's dream. I'd love to be on set taking photographs, being the director of photography in his movies, because the opportunities he gives his photographer to take these sorts of photographs is beyond my wildest dreams. Christopher Nolan, again, just like Edgar Wright, is one of the best directors of these times, and Dunkirk really proves that. He's constant with his movies. He's not made a bad movie at all. I think his worst movie was maybe Insomnia, but you're not going to say that's a bad movie either, because that's a really good movie. So, and I do think as well, the main, I can't remember his name now, the main boy in Dunkirk, he reminds me of a young Christian Bale. So maybe Christopher Nolan might use this boy in his future movies, because he used Christian Bale in a few of his movies. He's getting a little bit older now, so this boy is a really good actor, and maybe Christopher Nolan will bring him on. But anyway, Dunkirk, what a movie. Now at number 2 is Stephen King's It. Now this is one of my most anticipated movies of all time. Since I was a child, I loved the miniseries as a kid. I've read half the book so far. I will read the other half before the next chapter comes out in the cinema. But It, as you can tell by the box office, it's made $685 million at the box office. It's the highest grossing horror movie of all time, if you don't include inflation. And it was just a great movie. It exceeded expectations. I thought it was going to be good. It looked really good. It's not a scary film, but I don't think I watched it for the scares. I watched it for the tension. I watched it for just how close to the book that they made it. I'm with a lot of people, this isn't a remake. If it was a remake, then it would be remade as it would be a remake of the miniseries. It would be taking the source material from the miniseries and made it into a remake. It's not a remake, simple as that. I know that people are saying Stephen King said it was a remake. He just said that off the cuff. It's not a remake. It's a original movie, the first movie that came out in the cinema for It, and it's taken its source material from a book. So it's an adaptation of Stephen King's novel of the same name. And again, Bill Skarsgård had an amazing performance as Pennywise. Tim Curry was great in the miniseries, but that's in the past. This was this year, and again, it's my number 2 movie, so it's an amazing movie. I think almost everyone's seen It, and Finn Wolfhard is in it as well. After seeing Finn Wolfhard in It, I thought there's nothing this boy can't do. And then I watched Stranger Things season 2 and he was even better than that. So I think the cast in this movie had a big role to play to make this one of the best movies of the year. And I think everyone in this movie has got a bright future ahead of them. Now before I tell you my number 1 movie of 2017, 2017 was a good year for movies, but for me there was only one perfect movie, and that was my number 1 choice. And it was the most surprising choice of all. And my number 1 movie is The Disaster Artist. Now, like many people, I didn't see The Room when I first seen the trailer for The Disaster Artist. I heard of The Room, I knew of its cult status, but I just never got around to watching it because I'm not really interested in watching really bad movies. But I watched The Room for the first time 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and it was so incredibly bad. It was amazing and I couldn't keep my eyes off it, just like what most people say. And I was gearing myself up for The Disaster Artist. I know it's not a remake of The Room, and I know it's not a spoof of The Room. It is an adaptation of the book The Disaster Artist, written by Greg Sestero, and he's played by Dave Franco in this movie. I'm not going to go into the whole movie like it's a movie review, because I haven't done a movie review for The Disaster Artist. I just felt like I was just going to add it into my top movies of 2017. The Disaster Artist for me is a perfect movie. This shows James Franco's acting chops. I already knew James Franco was a good actor, and he was good in some serious roles as well. I never saw him as a comedic actor until I watched Pineapple Express back in 2008. Since then he's been really funny. Anything he's in, I think he's hilarious. But he's in this movie, he's funny. Just like Tommy Wiseau, just looking at him and just watching his movements, he's funny, but he's serious as well. And I just think James Franco was born to play Tommy Wiseau. James Franco played James Dean in a movie before, and he was also a director of Sunny and a star of Sunny. So Tommy Wiseau, he is kind of like James Franco in a way. He loved James Dean, who James Franco kind of looks like, and they both wrote, directed and starred in a movie. So I think James Franco was destined to play this role of Tommy Wiseau. If you haven't seen Disaster Artist, guys, it is a perfect movie. I can't tell you one thing that's wrong with this movie. It's just a perfect movie. So that's it for my top 10 of 2017, guys. Let me know what you thought of the top 10 that I put in my list. Is there anything that you would have maybe changed or added in? And like I said, there is movies that I haven't seen that I haven't added to the top 10. No doubt Blade Runner 2049 or 47, whatever it was, might have been in my top 10. I don't know. I'm just not interested in the Blade Runner series. However, I will go around to watching it eventually. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.